actually. Now, in Srila Prabhupada's purport, right, so we are hearing that this whole world, or the Prabhupada's words are this whole show, right? In other words, this whole material show, this whole material world, it does exist entirely just to satisfy or to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? However, we can see just how far current social perception, right, in broader society has come, right, regarding the purpose of life itself. Today in modern societies, the common accepted theory or the common belief about the meaning of life is simply to enjoy oneself, to gain as much material advancement for one's own pleasure and for the pleasure of one's loved ones. In fact, this is a philosophy, and it runs all through society today. Everything from socializing, people in that sort of sector, family life, the academic sector, the professional sector, that sort of understanding is there to the point where we have professional psychologists and even heads of religious bodies recommending this, that, just enjoy your life. Just take it easy. Just enjoy your life. Yeah. So this understanding that, actually we are here to please the Supreme Lord. This is the ultimate goal of life, to satisfy Krishna. This notion isn't even discussed fairly much, as I was saying, even in religious circles, and this is very sad. Now, but as Srila Prabhupada has commented, like Lord Brahma, who is described as the original spiritual master of this universe, he of course understands the purpose of life, and therefore he understands how to satisfy the Lord, how to please the Lord, and consequently Lord Brahma has created suitable arrangements for the maintenance of this material universe. And so Lord Brahma and Manu, who we've also been discussing, they are orchestrating these arrangements in order to enable the living entities to progress towards a more elevated state of consciousness. This is actually their task for the purpose of these living, the materially embodied living beings eventually becoming properly situated as loving servants of Krishna. But pure devotees of the Lord, right, who may not be in such an exalted position as Lord Brahma, they can also understand, right, how to satisfy Krishna, or how to please Krishna. Right? And this understanding, it comes from their intimate association with other devotees, other pure devotees especially. It comes also from their association with the Supreme Lord. Right? And of course, we have Guru and Shastra. Right? This is how we learn. Right? How do we learn how to please the Supreme Lord? For the aspiring devotee, or the bhakti yogi, or anyone who's on this path, this question is always there at the forefront of our minds. How are we going to do things in a way that's actually going to make Krishna happy, hopefully very happy? So Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, these are the main means by which we can learn about this. And this, so progressively over time, we get to understand, we get a better and better understanding of how we can achieve this. So ideally, we should try and please Krishna both internally and externally. Right? So there was a very nice class given by His Holiness Vedavyasa Priya Maharaj in Vrindavan. I think it was 2022, a couple of years ago. And Maharaj was discussing the devotees' internal environment. And Maharaj was asking these questions that, as devotees, what is our internal environment? Right? What is our internal ambience or mood? And how does this internal environment impact on our devotional lives? So, we can understand if we ourselves maintain a kind of a poisonous internal environment, it's not really going to attract Krishna or please Krishna. Poisonous, like things like an environment that is full of anger and bitterness and envy and so forth. Right, so these questions are actually very relevant to our spiritual lives about this internal environment, and I believe they are questions that we need to meditate on regularly. So, internally, right, we can try and create a devotional mood and atmosphere in which our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, and our intellectual activities are all going to be pleasing to Krishna. We can try and shape or modify our internal milieu. Do any of you know this word, milieu? I think it's actually a French word. It means sort of atmosphere. So that it becomes very pleasing to the master of the senses, Rishikesh. And basically this, what we're talking about here predominantly is our attitude. Our attitude towards others, including Krishna himself, is a major contributor to this internal environment, this internal milieu that we keep within ourselves. Externally, of course, we can aim to please Krishna by perfecting our words and perfecting our bodily actions, what we actually do in life. And when a person perfects his or her life as a devotee, then automatically that person's worldly activities also become perfect. Right? So this is something that is actually reserved for the devotees only. Right? In other words, if a materialist tries to perfect their worldly activities without pleasing the master of the senses, Krishna, they will never be successful, no matter how hard they try, and this is because this entire material creation is intended to satisfy Krishna, as I mentioned at the start of the class. So if one takes a path, any path other than bhakti, then one's efforts will never be complete or completely perfect, no matter how successful they may be from the material viewpoint. So now I did have a slide up with the shlokas. There's 2 shlokas in which Prahlad Maharaj recites the 9 devotional processes. That's from the 7th. Oh, maybe you can get it up, Nandu. It is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 5, texts 23 and 24. Let's see if we can get that up on the screen. I thought we would chant it together. Srila Prabhupada mentions this in his purport. Yeah, text 23 to 24. Okay, Canto 7, Chapter 5, text 23. Just see if Nandu can get it up on the screen. So while we're waiting for Nandu, okay, I'm actually going to read the translation for these 2 verses. This is how they go. Prahlad Maharaj said, hearing and chanting about the transcendental holy name, form, qualities, paraphernalia and pastimes of Lord Vishnu, remembering them, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering the Lord respectful worship with 16 types of paraphernalia, offering prayers to the Lord, becoming his servant, considering the Lord one's best friend, and surrendering everything unto him. In other words, serving him with body, mind and words. These 9 processes are accepted as pure devotional service. One who has dedicated his life to the service of Krishna through these 9 methods should be understood to be the most learned person, for he has acquired complete knowledge. Right, we got them up there? No? Oh, it's coming? Oh, yeah, we want the Sanskrit. Yeah? See if we can get the Sanskrit up. That's it. Okay, so I thought we would chant this in unison, not call repeat, but in unison. Shall we do it? These shlokas are very important shlokas in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Shri Praduvacha Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Bandhanam Dasyam Sakyam Atma Nivedanam. Iti pumsar pita Vishnu bhaktischena valakshana kriyeta bhagavatyada tanmanye tamuttaman mam. Thank you very much, Nandu. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, so these are the famous shlokas spoken by Sri Prahlad Maharaj, describing the 9 processes of devotional service that define pure devotional service. Now, in executing these processes of devotional service, we need to understand we can engage our own particular abilities and skills, right, in the service of the Lord, right, whatever those abilities and skills may be. In other words, engaging in loving exchanges with the Lord, right, through these 9 devotional processes, this is not restricted to being in the temple, right, or just, for example, carrying out duties specifically in relation to the deity. Right? And so loving exchanges with Krishna, it actually depends on the consciousness of the individual practitioner. In other words, to what extent is the individual prepared to go to try to please Krishna? Is pleasing Krishna something that is considered not very important to the individual, or is it something that is thought of as being of utmost importance? Right? If the individual considers that pleasing Krishna is very important in their life, then they will make whatever sacrifices are necessary to make in order to achieve their goal, or to try and achieve their goal, right, regardless of the inconveniences. And they will offer, and they can offer, whatever they have at their disposal in order to try to please the Lord. And they will always try and offer the best to the Lord. And this is very pleasing for Krishna. Right? So, a lot of the time it's simply making an effort. If we have some desire to please Krishna, any desire at all, simply making the effort is very satisfying for Krishna. And we know in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, is it 26? Krishna says, if one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a water, and a fruit, I will accept it. So Krishna can be satisfied with very, very little if it is offered with love and devotion. On the other hand, if somebody is attempting to offer Krishna something without sincerity and without humility and without love, and especially if somebody is offering something just to make a grand show of things, for example, building a multi-million-dollar temple just to attract the public, but it may not have been done with sincerity and with devotion, then Krishna is not going to be so attracted to that type of offering, even if it is very opulent from the material perspective. Right, we all know the pastime of, I was going to just quickly tell the pastime of Sudama Vipra. Right, so when Krishna was on earth 5,000 years ago, living in Vrindavan, he had a childhood friend called Sudama Vipra. So Sudama and Krishna, they attended the same school together. Right, it was the ashram of Sandipani Muni. And they were very good friends there, and after they left that ashram and became adults, so Krishna went to Dwarka, where he was living with his many thousands of queens, and Sudama was living in a very small, humble hut with his wife and children. So Sudama was so poor that he couldn't actually even afford to feed himself and his wife and children. So his wife was urging him, look, please go and see Lord Krishna in Dwarka. He is your childhood friend and he is very easily pleased. Just go and see him and he will understand your circumstances. So reluctantly Sudama went to see his friend Krishna in Dwarka, and Krishna was so happy to see Sudama, and he really gave him the royal treatment, so to speak, when Sudama came. But Sudama, out of humility, he didn't want to actually say anything to Krishna that, you know, he was poverty-stricken. He didn't want to say that because he just loved Krishna so much. Anyway, when he was there, before he had left his little hut, his wife had given him a little cloth bag of chipped rice to take as a gift for Krishna. It was just a little cloth bag with a little bit of chipped rice. But when Sudama had arrived in Dwarka, he felt embarrassed actually to give this very small, humble offering to Krishna, who was living in all this splendor that even surpassed the heavenly planets. You know, in Dwarka there were palaces and, you know, studded with gems and jewels, and there was so much opulence there. So anyway, eventually Krishna managed to snatch the little bag of chipped rice from Sudama. And as he was eating the chipped rice, he felt so much love and affection for Sudama that he what's it called? What's that word? He changed his humble little hut into a grand palace. Right? So in other words, where Sudama's humble hut had been standing, he transformed, what's the word I was looking for? He transformed it into a great palace, and he filled it with all this opulent wealth and everything. So, so this is something, you know, we need to understand what actually brings pleasure to Krishna. Right? Sudama came to Krishna as a friend, as his childhood friend. He came to him out of love and affection. And even though he only had a little cloth bag with some chipped rice in it, Krishna absolutely loved that offering. So, now, on our path of, you know, on our journey of trying to please Krishna and trying to satisfy Krishna, which is what's discussed in today's shloka, we need to be careful because there will also be obstacles, right, along the way. And one of those obstacles is pride. Right? Pride is one of the gravest afflictions or stumbling blocks for the aspiring devotee, right, in terms of the false ego getting in the way of pure devotional service. Right? So we read in Krishna book that once Krishna disappeared from the company of the gopis, right? Krishna had been in the forest enjoying with the gopis, and all of a sudden Krishna disappeared, and this was said to be because of their pride. Right? So I'm going to read a little excerpt from that. So Srila Prabhupada comments like this: the gopis were aware of the reason for Krishna's sudden disappearance. They could understand that when they had been enjoying Krishna, they thought themselves to be the most fortunate women within the universe, and since they were feeling proud, Krishna had disappeared immediately just to curb their pride. Krishna does not like his devotees to be proud of their service to him. He accepts everyone's service, but he does not like one devotee to proudly consider himself better than others. If sometimes there are such feelings, Krishna ends them by changing his attitude toward the devotee. Sounds pretty serious. I think that's pretty serious. So yeah, when you know, we have to endeavor to find this kind of healthy balance, for want of a better expression, in which we can understand that yes, we all have something of value to offer Krishna. Right? We can all please Krishna, satisfy Krishna in some way. Both internally and externally, but we also need to be careful so that we do not become pompous or proud in considering that what we have to offer Krishna is perhaps better than what somebody else has to offer them, or thinking, you know, that our offering is something very grand or something very spectacular. Right? Krishna is the owner of everything. He is the source of everything, both material and spiritual, so he does not actually need anything. But he accepts our offerings of love, offerings that are aimed at pleasing him, because he wants these loving exchanges with his devotees. Right? That is all. So when Krishna sees that a devotee desires to satisfy him in a particular way, he will make arrangements for that devotee to be able to give him what they desire to give. Right? And actually this is something that we never hear of in the material world, right? We never hear of anyone providing someone else with something, a gift, that is intended to be given back to them. Right? It is unheard of. But in devotional life, right, the devotee comes to this realization that what we so dearly want to offer the Lord is delivering to us, right? Just so that we can exchange in this, we can engage in these loving exchanges with Him. Right? So this is Krishna's fathomless mercy and love for us. Right? He cares so much for His devotees that even though He needs nothing, He nevertheless ensures that we receive what we desire to give back to Him. So these 9 processes of, oh, very nice, thank you. Oh, you're doing very well. Nice picture. This is, Krishna washing the feet of Sudama, right? This pastime that I was just discussing. So, and you know, and just flipping back to this pastime for a bit, when Sudama came to the palaces of Krishna in Dwarka, his queens, Krishna's queens, couldn't really understand, oh, who is this poor, scraggly-looking Brahmana, you know, that Krishna is giving so much attention to, and even, you know, putting him on his own bed and washing his feet. But then, you know, they got to understand that, yeah, this is a very dear friend of Krishna who has pure bhakti for Krishna. So, now, these 9 processes of devotional service that we were chanting, they actually constitute the devotee's journey towards coming away from this selfishness and small-mindedness, right, and coming towards bhakti. You know, within the material world, certainly within Rajagun and Tamagun, there is this kind of invisible thread of selfishness that runs all the way through all these activities, all these characteristics that are listed in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam that constitute Raja and Tamagun. This selfishness and this small-mindedness is there. So a part of us coming away from these lower material modes and moving towards a higher state of consciousness, this comprises giving up our selfishness and our small-mindedness and coming to this greater understanding that, yes, pleasing Krishna, this actually defines the highest goal of life, and that it alone can deliver real happiness to the devotee. And as we were reading in today's shloka, so the last sentence in today's verse is, Krishna is the ultimate self, and therefore one who does not satisfy him certainly neglects his own interests. Right? So if we want to act in our own best self-interest, yes, we would be wise to meditate on how we can please Krishna in everything that we do, both internally and externally. So this is really all that I had prepared today from the shloka. Now, I want to just quickly mention these 2 personalities who are appearing in today's Vaishnava calendar. So, Srila Ramachandra Kaviraj, right? It is his disappearance anniversary today. So Ramachandra Kaviraj, it is said he visited Vrindavan, where he associated with Srila Jiva Goswami and other Vaishnavas, and he received their blessings. And apparently the Vaishnavas were very pleased to hear Srila Ramachandra's devotional poetry, right? So much that Jiva Goswami gave him the title Kaviraj. So Kaviraj means the king of poetry. So therefore, thereafter, Srila Ramachandra Kaviraj became one of the 8 Kavirajas, the Asta Kavirajas of Vrindavan at that time. And it is also said that Ramachandra Kaviraj, he was Narottam Thakur's favored companion for preaching activities and spiritual association. So we can understand that he was a very exalted Vaishnava. Okay, now I want to speak also a little bit about about Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami. So it is his appearance anniversary today. So I'm going to read a little bit about the pastime of when the deity Radha Raman manifested. This is from a class, I can't quite remember who by. Okay, here we go. After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's disappearance, Gopal Bhatta Goswami felt intense separation from the Lord. To relieve his devotee, the Lord instructed Gopal Bhatta in a dream, "If you want my darshan, then make a trip to Nepal." In Nepal, Gopal Bhatta bathed in the famous Kali Gandaki river. Upon dipping his water pot in the river, he was surprised to see several shaligram shilas enter his pot. He dropped the shilas back into the river, but the shilas re-entered his pot when he refilled it. After emptying and refilling his water pot for the third time, Gopal Bhatta Goswami found 12 shaligram shilas sitting in there. Thinking this must be the Lord's mercy, he kept all the shilas and returned to Vrindavan. Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami used to worship these 12 shaligram shilas. Now, wherever he would go, he would bring them with him in a piece of cloth tied at the corner. And one day a wealthy man came to Vrindavan and offered Gopal Bhatta a variety of clothing and ornaments for his shaligrams. And being very impressed with the Goswami, he wanted his darshan and to render some service, which he presented in the form of some valuable cloth and ornament. However, Gopal Bhatta couldn't use these for his round-shaped shaligrams, so he advised the donor to give the deity decorations to someone else. But the merchant, the wealthy merchant, insisted. Right, so Gopal Bhatta kept the valuable cloth and the ornaments with his shilas. Now, while Gopal Bhatta Goswami was absorbed in remembering how the half-man, half-lion form of the Supreme Lord had manifested from the pillar in Hiranyakashipu's palace, he prayed in transcendental lamentation to the Lord, "O my Lord, you are very merciful and always fulfill the desires of your devotees. I wish to serve you in your form, having arms and legs and a blissful, smiling face with lotus eyes. If I had a deity, then I would be able to decorate him so nicely with these cloth and ornaments that I have just been given." So this was Gopal Bhatta Goswami's prayer. Now, in the evening, after offering some bhoga and artik to his shaligram shilas, Gopal Bhatta put them to rest, covering them with a wicker basket. And late in the night, Gopal Bhatta took a little rest, and then in the early morning, he woke up and went to bathe in the Yamuna river. Returning from his bath, he uncovered the shaligrams in order to render puja for them, and he saw amongst them a deity of Krishna playing the flute. There was now only 11 shilas in the basket and this deity. The Damodar Shila, right, so that was the particular shaligram Shila that is called Damodar Shila, that was one of the 12. The Damodar Shila had manifested as the beautiful threefold bending form of Tribangananda Krishna, this beautiful form. Floating in the ocean of ecstasy, Gopal Bhatta Goswami fell to the ground in order to offer his dandavats, and then recited various prayers and hymns. Right? So in other words, what had happened was one of these, Krishna in the form of these round shaligram shilas, in order to fulfill the desires of his devotee, he had actually taken this form himself. He has transformed himself into the Tribangananda form. This wonderful event of the appearance of Radharaman happened on the day after Shrina Srimad Chaturdasi, and it is celebrated on that day accordingly. That day they offer 500 litres of milk for the Lord's pleasure and many other sweets and different things. Now, when Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, as well as many other devotees, received this news of this miraculous event, they came running to see the Lord. Gazing on the Lord's transcendental form, which bewildered all the living entities of the many various planets, they all bathed him with their tears. Right, so this deity, whom the Goswami named Sri Radharaman Deva, made his appearance on the full moon day of Vaishakha in the year 1542. And it is said here, except for Vrinda Devi, Sri Radharaman is the only deity, the original deity in Vrindavan, who has never left Vrindavan, because, as we know, most of the other original deities in Vrindavan, dating back to the past, to the time of Lord Caitanya, they were removed to be taken to Jaipur, because Vrindavan was invaded at that time. And it is said that this particular Radharaman deity, oh, we have him, thank you. Can you get his full form? Yeah. He has very intricate features, right, including fingernails and even teeth. Right, it's very, very beautiful deity, right? And it is said that on the backside of his body, parts of the original Shalagram Shila from which he manifested himself, that can still be seen. Right. So I'm going to finish there. So this is, this is one of the most celebrated pastimes of Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami. It is how he was worshipping these Shalagam Shilas, and one of them transformed into this absolutely wonderful deity of Shri Radharaman. Alright, has anyone been to the Radharaman temple in Vrindavan? Jai. Yes, everyone, most of us here probably have. If you haven't, for those who have not yet travelled to India, to Vrindavan, I would highly recommend that when you go to visit Vrindavan, you go to the 7 temples of the Goswamis, 7. The temples of the 6 Goswamis. They include Shri Radharaman Temple, Shri Radha Gokulananda, Shri Radha Shamsundar, Shri Radha Govindaji, Shri Radha Damodar, and Madna Mohan Temple. In fact, they say when you do that circuit, you're supposed to first go to the Madna Mohan Temple. That was established by Srila Sanatana Goswami, and Sanatana Goswami's Pushpa Mandir is there also. These temples are actually my favorite in Vrindavan. They're absolutely wonderful. Okay, so now we only have a few minutes. I don't know if any of you want to, we can just flip back to what we were discussing in today's Srimad Bhagavatam shloka with regards to trying to please the Lord both internally and externally, right, to try and satisfy the Lord. Does anyone have any questions or comments on this particular topic? Yes, Emerald, yeah.
The internal environment,
yes,
and in cultivating that,
yeah,
and having listened to the whole class, but our natural tendency to envy and those kinds of things that are poisonous to the internal environment. I was thinking that self-compassion,
yes,
how we think about ourselves, is also important, and
yes,
it's a tricky thing to talk about because we do have that tendency to selfishness. And so in trying to purify that, it's a journey to balance self-compassion while we purify, like learning
yes,
the difference between selfishness and that. And I was
Thank
reflecting.
you.
Yeah.
I think I understand what you're saying, yeah, because to some extent we have to focus on ourselves in order to try and develop our own devotional mood, but then also, our focus should actually be on pleasing Krishna and paying attention to Krishna. So my understanding is this, that actually, not many devotees know this, but like there are actually a number of quotes by Srila Prabhupada about loving oneself. I actually made up a little file on these quotes. I have it on my computer at home. So, we certainly need to be tolerant with ourselves and patient. And as you say, you mentioned the word compassion, to be compassionate towards ourselves. There is nothing wrong with this, if we are understanding what is happening to ourselves from the perspective of the Shastra, So my recommendation in this regard is that we learn to understand, who we are, who we truly are, how we are, what is our condition, and then yes, also apply this. We can say compassion or even tolerance or patience. We need to be patient with ourselves and also to be compassionate. My feeling is if we are not practicing tolerance and patience and kindness to ourselves, how are we going to achieve that towards other living beings? But we need to see the bigger picture, that ultimately, the biggest happiness for the individual being is when they are pleasing Krishna. Pleasing Krishna is like watering the root of the tree. When we water the root of the tree, all the branches and the leaves also become nourished. So we are those leaves and little branches. So pleasing Krishna is actually eventually going to lead to our own greater happiness and our own greater prosperity. But also, we need to remain personal, right? To maintain a personalistic outlook. That we understand ourselves. Okay, yes, we are in this somewhat pitiable condition. We have come into this material world and we are suffering, and anyone who is suffering should be receiving our mercy and our understanding. Yeah. Am I addressing at all what you're asking? Oh?
You're sharing your opinion, which is beautiful, and like it's rich. It's exactly. And what I'm hearing as well is I'm realizing is that if I'm not kind to myself, I can't really function well for Krishna. Being kind for myself for Krishna rather than for myself.
It is said that, I think it is Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he teaches that the mind can, I can't remember where this teaching is, but it's a teaching that we quote regularly, that the mind can actually be the individual's worst enemy or best friend. Where? Thank you very much, 613. So we, if someone or if something can potentially be our best friend, we're going to be wanting to treat that entity with sensitivity and respect. This is my understanding. I know that we also have this teaching by, now this one I'm sure is from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that one should beat the mind with a broom in the morning and a stick in the evening or something. What is it, Ramprasad? Say it louder, please. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, that the mind, the material mind, one's own mind is so obstinate and so devious that one should beat it in the morning and the afternoon, with a stick and a broom. But I feel, gosh, what can I say about that? I think I like this teaching that is actually that one's own mind can be one's best friend. So I think the gentle approach, like especially when we're dealing with Vaishnavas, and when we're dealing with others within a devotional context and even ourselves, to try and cultivate this very loving and gentle internal environment seems to work the best for most devotees. I haven't heard any reports yet of somebody who's beating their mind in the morning and afternoon with a stick, so I can't comment too much on that. But yeah, definitely, like it is said that compassion is the jewel quality amongst all the qualities of a Vaishnava. Compassion, which compassion means to be accommodating and to be gentle and loving and to be understanding. And we also know from a preaching perspective that this approach is the absolute best approach. Okay, does anyone else have a quick question? I've actually gone into breakfast time now, so I think we'll all head out to breakfast. Jai, Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitya Gaura Premanandi.
Chan Madhur Sare. This is a song sung by Bhaktivinoda Thakur.